Alright, this is part 2 on my recap from my big road trip with this thing. Last time I got up to Denver and kind of described the excellent service experience there. Yeah, I got my car back and then didn't have any problems. And then from Denver I was going to Vegas to DEF CON 25 and made it over the Rockies and everything else just fine. There was no problems there. Pretty cool though going back down there. I had 17 miles, a 17-mile stretch where I had regen, that I was getting a positive average energy consumption, or negative, I guess, energy consumption going back into the battery. And that was pretty good. No real problems, getting over the hills or braking. And the regen's like, never really had to hardly touch my brakes because there's so much braking ability through regen that it's a little bit, it's tough to need to brake that much. Only a couple times with like slow trucks and traffic I had to really actually use the real brakes. Autopilot worked pretty well. Some of the mountain stuff was pretty curvy, and yeah, I didn't trust it on some of the stuff because it's kind of tight, and I was also trying to go a little bit faster than the speed limit, so wasn't the best. But yeah, so then did DEF CON. It pretty much had it parked most of the time because I was doing that full time. So made it to, after that went out to the desert, camped out in the Mojave Nature Preserve. No problems there. There's this place on an old dirt road, but I'd taken my Mini Cooper there before, so I figured, well, Mini Cooper, made it there. This thing's got about as much ground clearance, a little bit longer, so you can't quite, hit the ditches as nice, but made it back there with no problems. And I'd already done a, Iowa to California road trip before with my Mini Cooper a year before, so I kind of have, some comparison of what it's like. But yeah, it's kind of a long day of travel yet, though, because, I think it was 12 or 13 hours, and then, you add the charges in there, you're at, like, closer to 15 or 16 hours, so makes for a long day, but you can take a nap, you get plenty of rest and whatnot at the superchargers. Still worked out okay, didn't have any problems, any issues. And then, yeah, I get to LA, no problems there, until I try to find superchargers, even in LA, which doesn't have quite the density that San Francisco has in terms of Teslas. There was always a line. And I was bumming off of people's couches a lot, just because I hang out with my friends and whatnot, and usually they're okay with putting me up. So I didn't have any place to plug in or charge on my own. I brought my charger with, but even at 4 miles an hour of charge, that's 40 miles of charge maybe if you're lucky for a long night. So it's hardly even really worth it when you can go to a supercharger. But a lot of times I had to wait about 20 minutes to get into a supercharger, and it's also LA, so getting anywhere in LA is a 30-minute endeavor. And I was in the Seal Beach, Long Beach area, which not the schwankiest area, so they don't really have superchargers near. And one time I had to get a charge, it was an hour extra trip out of the way plus charging, and I had to wait for like 40 minutes to get a charge, as during the day. But I don't know. And the thing that pissed me off, though, a lot of the cars were all California cars. Like, I need to charge here. Like, sure, you can top up and get cheap electricity, but goddamn, like, you own a Tesla, surely you have something better to do with your time than get a few extra bucks of free electricity. And I did actually see some of the Tesla Loop, or I don't know if it's Tesla Loop. There's some Tesla branded cars. I should have took a picture of it at one of the chargers the next week when I was in LA. But yeah, so from LA went up to San Francisco, and wasn't planning on taking 5 up. I was going to take the PCH because it's like, well, hey, I got a nice car, and I remember, it was probably 10 years ago on our family vacation when we tried taking that for a while with this Chrysler Pacifica, and it just had really bad body roll, and as a passenger, wasn't the most enjoyable experience. But like curvy roads, I'm all about that. And so we started heading up PCH, and it was actually going to be pretty tight. We only had about 15 extra miles out of 250 worth of charge, because one of the superchargers on the way was temporarily closed. And so it was a big stretch to actually make it. So we had to wait extra long to get a full charge. And then as we make our way up PCH, and once it starts getting curvy, it's pretty fun. And I must say, my Mini Cooper, a lot lighter car. It's like half the weight of this, or used to have a Mini Cooper. It was a 2005, just regular, not non-S version, and that thing could handle whatever the speed limit, the suggested signs on and off ramps. You could pretty much double it in the Mini Cooper. But the thing is, the thing would, it's like, it's like just crying its guts out trying to get anywhere. And I think it could do 0 to 60 in like 6.3 or something like that. But with the Tesla, after just going around a few curves, really realized, even though this thing is heavy, the weight distribution's still really good on it. And so it still handles relatively well for being a heavy car. But you get so much more instantaneous get up and go out of the corner that, your average speed, through a whole corner and out the other side, actually is probably better with the Tesla versus the Mini Cooper, even though the Mini Cooper handles so much better. It's like the Mini Cooper, you whip it around any corner. It's a lot of fun to drive. This is fun to drive, but I still say, probably I still like my Mini Cooper as a driver a little bit more, but this thing still got a lot of get up and go. Now, if I get, the P100D eventually, hopefully, with the ludicrous speed and all that, then it's just on a whole nother level. But it's also, the quickest production car in existence. So, comparisons. But either way, so we went up to PCH and found out that it was closed right when it was getting to some good curvy roads, and realized that, okay, we're about 10 miles short of making it back to our charger. And so, I just had it reroute us through, and Google Maps knew about it, and I just didn't believe Google Maps because it's dumb. Maybe it's just thinking, well, this is a slower route, so I'm going to keep trying to put you on a quicker route, except for until we saw the signs, and it's 5 miles ahead, no detours, and it's washed out in 3 places. So really can do the PCH thing. But we rerouted and just let it take us where it thought it was going to, and put us through the different superchargers. It actually routed us to the temporarily closed one, which worked out okay. But if it was really closed, we couldn't plug in at all, then we probably would have been stranded there, or at least had to find a hotel and charged up or something overnight, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to make it to the next closest supercharger. But we got there, and they were just resurfacing the pavement, so the construction crew just waved us through, and we were able to get a charge, and eventually made it up. It was probably about 11:30 by the time we got into the Bay Area. But yeah, so that that was one other thing that was a little bit of a pissed me off a little bit about. First off, couldn't go up PCH, but that it got that close for how much battery we had. And, there's just not that many charging options available. But no one really uses PCH, so it's fair enough. They're trying to optimize. If they're going to make investments, they're going to try and make the most valuable investments for the people using their cars. So, and really, without, if that one wasn't temporarily unavailable, we could have charged, when a couple, it would have been about a 50-mile detour, or maybe 40-mile detour to go to that other supercharger, so we would have had a little more headroom to make it up to Monterey. So yeah, the supercharger network needs to be expanded. That's the biggest thing that I learned the second week. Because when you're on the highways, it's not too bad because you're going somewhere and they always have them right off the highway. But if you're actually in a city and you got to charge, and so do a lot of other people, it's kind of tough to just get in anywhere, even late at night. I remember pulling up to one at 11 o'clock, and I still had to wait on my way out to San Francisco the second time. And also in San Francisco Bay Area, just had a ton of people at all the superchargers, but they also have a ton of Teslas too. So, it's still a problem where you had to wait at least some amount of time for just about every charger. The one in Mountain View was insane. There was, I'm trying to think, I think I was the third person in line, and then there's 3 more cars behind me at one point. But Mountain View on their map, some of the Tesla places have a big screen that just gives you stats about the supercharger network, and it said like there's been over 1 billion miles enabled by supercharging through the supercharger network, and the most used one was the one in Mountain View. It's the one actually that's right at the Computer History Museum. So, and they got a nice cafe and stuff inside there. I didn't go in the last time, but I've been to a couple conferences at the Computer History Museum, which I'd highly recommend taking a gander through. It's a pretty cool place. But yeah, so that's update number 2, I guess, or as far as part 2 of this whole recap of my road trip.